Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. So let's click in here. I got another watch and learn so we can open a pack. Right now, what do I want to get rid of? I guess I want to get rid of this one because that's easier. So we have Mage and Shaman overlaps, good, because we're kind of short on things to talk about today. It's been 4 days, but it was around the Labor Day weekend, and because of that, the amount of announcements that really matter are kind of low. Some of the stuff that's shown at PAX West is cool and all, but it's also like too new. It's just like, I am not jumping on a hype train for a game that won't be out for the next 2 years. I just am not ready for that in my life. Let's see. So Mage or Shaman is all we have to do. Alright, well, let's just start with the Mage standard, and then, oh, we'll start with the Mage Wild. Play some ranked. I'll get in here. So, I guess I learned my lesson and started writing really small on my list of topics here to fill up this whiteboard, which I guess I'm gonna constantly talk about because I have no way of avoiding it, I guess. Let's see. So the new iPhone has come out, and while that doesn't really affect me too much because I don't use Apple products,
Jaina versus
particularly
Jaina.
Because
you asked
I don't want to be locked in and not have options, and that's exactly what an Apple product is all about. It's about eliminating options and giving you whatever experience they want to give you, and I've known that for a long time, and I think people are starting to realize that now that the iPhone has been announced, and it's not going to have a headphone connector just because they want you to use Lightning head earbuds, and they want a license the Lightning connector and charge people money for that. Or if they get really lucky, they can charge you $150 for Bluetooth AirPods.
Mind if I roll knee?
But video game related, they did get Nintendo out there, and at this level, this is like a low point in Nintendo. I think when they're not doing their own announcement, they're just coming out doing the Apple announcement and saying, well, this Pokemon Go app that Niantic is making for us, that we sold out, is that app is gonna now work on the iPhone as a companion thing, although you still can't catch Pokemon on Pokemon Go with the iWatch companion app. And we're releasing Super Mario Run, which is an infinite runner tapper game where Mario is always running to the right of the screen. I assume to the right of the screen at least. And you tap at specific times, and they'll throw some flair in there and he'll do some spins, but in reality he is almost certainly just gonna always jump upwards when you tap the button. And it's kind of course limited in some modes so that it's not actually infinite. There are actual courses, but there's also an infinite mode, and without that infinite mode, I imagine you'd be bored with the game in less than 5 minutes. With the infinite mode, you're still probably going to be bored with the game, and in 10 minutes or so, maybe a day. Let's see. What can I do? Can I win this, or is everybody gonna get killed? If I do this one and this one, I die. If I do this one, it does 6 damage. I guess that's the only thing I could really do. So yeah, that's a real down point. And then on top of that, they announced that 2 other games that they're bringing to cell phones have been delayed. So they're not really... I don't think they were really investing in that anyways. I think it was just that there's a small team making... I think it was an Animal Crossing game and maybe a Nintendo Pets cell phone game. That seems like Nintendo Dogs.
I'll show them.
Is that what it was?
Them
I don't know. But Nintendo should go into the cell phone game market. They're just not succeeding on their first attempt into it here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do this. So yeah, that's kind of a disappointment. Speaking of also of a disappointment, the PlayStation 4 Pro has been announced, formerly the PlayStation Neo codename, and it's not going to have support for UHD 4K Blu-rays. In fact, as best as I can figure, it doesn't have support for 4K at all, despite what they're saying and trying to tell you. I think when you actually start to evaluate their saying statements, they're saying the video games will run at near 4K with internal upscaling, which that upscaling is the same thing that would be in a 4K TV when it gets a 1080p signal. It's going to be upscaled in the TV. Maybe it does look a little bit better in the PlayStation 4 Pro and does a little bit of an improvement there, some anti-aliasing type things, but at the core of it, I don't think any of the games are going to run at 4K, which makes it rather ridiculous that the Mass Effect Andromeda demo came out and they were like, make sure you watch all of this on 4K. And this is how it's gonna look. This is gonna be this good. It's like, no, it's not gonna work that way. Let's see. What do I want to do? Whenever the enemy minion dies, leopard known, freeze a minion and the minions. Default damage shell. Alright, let's go ahead and so, yeah, 4K is not, they just don't have the processing power for it. I mean, you're talking, if you want to do smooth 4K at even 30 frames per second, you probably need to make a console with 2 Titan X Pascals in it. Really. The hardware for video cards is just not there yet. Also, the content's definitely not there also, but that's not a huge real issue. This will be interesting. So yeah, 4K is not it's just not ready. PlayStation 5 maybe. The same is true for the next Xbox too. That's not gonna run at 4K. It'll upscale to 4K. Now, ideally for both of them, I can't believe I lost there. That's surprising. Ideally for both the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox Scorpio, whatever that is going to actually be called, they are going to run a lot smoother. And that's something that's nice to think about, although the price point doesn't really work for it. Still, I think for either one of them, the
Jaina
truth of the
versus
matter is
Anduin.
running at a solid
Life
60
shall
frames
bring
per
victory.
second
You asked
and
for it.
a native 1080p is a much more attainable goal and something that would actually catch my attention a lot more. And so that would be interesting. Unfortunately, there's so many games on Steam now for me personally to catch up, since I've moved over to playing PC games, that it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I did run into that issue, which is certainly annoying, of the of Resident Evil 4 just not running. But that really is the first game I've ever run into like that, where it hasn't run and I haven't been able to fix it. I've run into some point-and-click adventure games, like one point-and-click adventure game that didn't run either. So maybe 3 games at a total. Speaking of running smoother though, Bayonetta is backwards compatible for Xbox One, and apparently the Xbox 360 version, which is what that is ported from, was at the time the best way to play it. Now on the Xbox One, it seems like that's the best way to play it. Not just a huge improvement across the board, unfortunately. I was watching Digital Foundry's comparison, and then sometimes the Wii U version of Bayonetta would run a little bit better. Sometimes the 360 version would run a little bit better, which is a rather strange setup to be in, because you would think a proper port on the next generation console would be able to blow that out of the water. Particularly like Witch Time did not work on the Wii U very, very well. Now, I would absolutely love to get into some hype and believe for a second that
Can I light your fire?
is a potential increase of the chances of Bayonetta 2 coming to PC, or Bayonetta coming to PC, or a Bayonetta 3 getting made, all of which would be good things. But knowing Sega, no, I don't think so. I mean, people are just going through the list of games on the 360 and slowly porting them over to emulation. That's all there really is to it. It would be nice if there was more believable or something else, but nah.
Job's done.
So, but that does have my interest. But I'm not gonna get hyped on it, even though I want to get hyped on it. Going back to the PlayStation 4, Bethesda has come out straight and said that Sony has said they cannot have mods. They're not allowing mods on
Drink with me, friend.
On the PlayStation 4 for their games, which pretty much means if you wanted to play Fallout 4 with mods or Skyrim with mods, the right place to play that was always the PC, but now you're getting yet another confirmation. PlayStation 4, Sony's not going to guide you. Happy about that.
Is someone injured?
There is actually a maybe growing, or maybe just getting realized, realization here that there's not enough competition going on in the competition in the markets.
Can I light your fire?
I totally did that wrong.
I serve the Fire Lord.
But yeah, Nintendo is no competition to anyone. When the NX comes out, it's not going to be any competition to anyone. The only company I could think of that would even potentially stand a chance of making a console would be either Apple, maybe Amazon, if they knew what they were doing, or if they hadn't really succeeded on any other devices like that. The Alexa is a small success, but it's not cheap enough that it's shown up anywhere. The Kindle is a small success, but not enough. I think Apple has the best chance, and I still don't think it does. Nintendo, a refreshed new Nintendo with like way more different people in charge of it. Just something completely unrealistic. That. Let's see.
Cooking time.
Go and kill this guy. Pretend like I'm trying to actually win here. So, what else? Looking over my list and saying, what do I want to talk about? Well, Deus Ex released the DirectX 12 update, so it now can use DirectX 12. Honestly, the difference between DirectX 9 and 10 is a huge difference. The difference between DirectX 10 and 11 is almost nothing. As far as I can tell, most games will have a if they support DirectX 10 or 11, they'll just have a mode that says that, and then it doesn't seem like there's a major change in anything else. So they all seem to have a default where they go back to 9C, which I imagine is Windows XP compatibility thing. And then I imagine 10 was Windows. What was it that came after XP? Vista? So maybe 9C is Vista, and then 11 may have been Windows 7 and Windows 8 and 8.1 and all of that. And now 12 is probably on Windows 10. And so the DirectX numbers are going up simply because they're trying to force you into a new version of Windows, and it doesn't feel like there's
Not quite.
it doesn't really feel like that there's a big difference there. Now, I've never seen a game say we support DirectX 10, 11, and 12. It pretty much always goes, we support the newest number that we actually support, and then we support 9C as the backup. And I don't know what the difference there is. It may simply be a labeling thing. We'll try shaming that. It may simply be that, like, if you want to claim your DirectX 12 compatible, all you have to do is actually be DirectX 10 compatible and just not use any of the features of DirectX 12. And that's still a-okay with them. Each of these DirectX things are just like functions. So, like, where a game in the old days may have to write their own function to animate cloth swaying in the breeze. And if you're using something like Unreal or Unity or some other engine that's open source, then Unreal and Unity would make their own functions to do that. And with DirectX 12 potentially has that in there. Job's done. So I don't know what the difference is. I'd like to see a comparison at some point. That would be interesting. My hard drive filled up as I was recording Castlevania, and it's becoming a big problem because this is like the third time this year my hard drive is just filled up in the middle of recording. It's a nightmare scenario because you lose 1 hour of work, and then if my hard drive fills up, it's because I'm recording like 5 or 6 gigabyte files per hour of footage. So that's a high frame rate, high FPS, high resolution recording. The size of files drastically change just depending on the game, and more than the length. So an hour of Hearthstone, probably only 800 megabytes. An hour of Castlevania Lords of Shadow, 6 gigabytes. Just because this image doesn't refresh that much, and there's just a lot more to compress, I suppose, is one thing you could argue. It could also be that this isn't really running at 60 frames per second, so that too might be an issue. So, yeah, when it fills up, you lose that hour because the file gets corrupted. That means I have to go back and play potentially an entire hour of gameplay back. My save file doesn't save, so then potentially my save file could get corrupted, so I could have to go back and play the whole game from the beginning to that point, which would be a nightmare. And it's something I think I had to do sort of for a Lego.
Get in there, fight, maggot.
For a Lego game, which it wasn't terrible, but it could have been a lot worse. And then you lose effectively like 13 hours more. So you're talking 14 to maybe 28 hours of work lost because the hard drive is full. It's completely unacceptable, and that's something I'm going to have to fix very, very soon. The problem is that
My totems! My pretty totems!
the problem is that that's just funding I really don't have right now, and I need to buy a mattress. Terrible. It's a stupid thing, but I've had my mattress for about 8 years plus now, and it's causing incredible pain, and so I need to fix that, which also means my budgeting and expenditures towards games are going to go down, which it needs to go up, not down. That's its own issue.
My pretties!
What will this one say? Ah, second one of those. Oh, this card is going to work rather well. So, yeah, that's a nightmare. I want to get one of those EM2 drives if I can. That way, a 256 EM2 drive, I could clone everything on my hard drive to the EM2 drive. It'd be a little bit faster. I think it's called an EM2 drive. And then I could set my current SSD as a recording only thing. That would stop splitting what spare space I have of about maybe 120 gigabytes between 60 gigabytes of installed games, which that's only going to grow more and more and more. It may very easily turn into the point where the EM2 drive, if it was 256, would not even be enough to have one game installed, but then I could always bite into the second SSD and install the second game on that. That wouldn't be a huge issue. but then it would also give me 256 gigabytes of just space to have for my recycling bin, which is a big deal because if I upload something or don't upload something and thought I uploaded it and deleted it, I don't want that to get immediately deleted, because that confusion certainly has happened in the past where I've thought I've uploaded something, I've deleted the file, my recycling bin has gotten emptied because I didn't have space, and then I need that video and then I'm playing the game again, which these kind of delays absolutely should not ever happen. They're only pushing me further and further behind, and it's not how I want it to be. In my ever struggling attempt to make this channel more successful, the one thing that won't make it successful that is obvious is if I just do not make footage. My channel certainly is weird. It certainly is weird. It's certainly in this crazy catch-up mode. But consistency is key. So even if people aren't watching, I have to think that they appreciate the small fact that I'm consistently putting out videos, even if they're only watching one. Job done. So, I mean, that's a weird, almost self-congratulatory way of thinking. It's like, I know people aren't watching, but I think they appreciate my videos they're not seeing or know nothing about. It's like, yeah, right. I personally appreciate being consistent. And I think YouTube's algorithms personally appreciate being consistent. Sure, I could have taken everything I recorded this year and released only one episode per day, every day, and I probably would have had 3 years worth of footage by now. I mean, it wouldn't have been that hard. If I've got like 4,000 videos, divide that by 365 days, that's 10 years? Yeah, that's 10 years of footage right there, if that's what I was going to do. But does that really work? Does that really build an audience? No. Does anything build an audience?
My totems! My pretty totems!
I have no idea. I really have no idea if anything builds an audience. I recently did the YouTube survey, which I've already done once, so why they wanted it again, it's like, do you agree that YouTube helps you build an audience and it's a place where you can gain an audience? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen any of that. And I don't believe that YouTube does that, because they don't promote random people, and that's the only way YouTube could fairly and nicely help its millions of creators, is they have to just have a random button and they have to just throw random videos out there, and that is not what's on my recommended playlist, and that is not what's on the most trending
this guy's
videos.
toast.
Yeah, it's not on the gaming tab of the most trending, it's not on the news tab. The live tab on some points almost kind of is random, but it still doesn't really promote a lot of things, because that's only people that are live right then and there, and that number is kind of small.
Elements I like, totems I love.
And so, like, they're asking what do I feel about YouTube Red, and I have to tell them, it's like, I hate it. I think it's terrible for creators. I hate the idea that YouTube is starting to go into a TV station and focus on the PewDiePies and the big ticket sellers like they do already, and they're focusing on the money. YouTube kinda needs to be a charity, or it's eventually gonna turn into a TV station, and I'm gonna see my channel quote unquote canceled and deleted because it doesn't have enough viewership, because it doesn't bring in enough ad revenue, because it's not It irritated some advertiser somewhere for some reason, which on my channel it would be a lot, but eventually that's what it will come down to, is they can't promote anybody. They have to be 100% hands off and just focused on, if promoting anybody, just doing it at complete random. Their YouTube, Twitter thing absolutely promotes the same people that have production companies behind them. I know they have production companies behind them. When you're seeing Hannah Hart and when you're seeing Nerdist getting promoted, it's like, I know. You can look on Wikipedia, you know those are production companies behind those channels. That's not an individual creator. That's not somebody that needs to be promoted anyways. I would have been fine if they got their one promotion a long time ago and then they got their viewers and that was fine. But they get promoted again and again and again. And then they talk about diversity in the survey and they're like, do you think we do enough to promote people of variety ethnicities and genders and races? And I'm like, I don't want you to do any of that. That's not what this is about. Artists can come from any background, origin, or race, or ethnicity, religion, whatever. Artists can come from any of that. So you specifically trying to make an artificial balance there is, again, just YouTube promoting somebody through basic racism, is what it is. That's all it is. And I'm getting into controversial topics, but if the best artist is the majority, then they should get promoted equally as much as any minority on YouTube, which is to say, the only fair way YouTube would do it, the only way YouTube should ever do it, is again random. That's it. You can give no preference to anyone anywhere, and maintain fairness and do right by the YouTube.
I have no time for games.
You just can't. I want YouTube recommending me garbage videos made by like 14-year-olds that put their videos on YouTube. I want them recommending those videos in an equal share to the best highly produced videos ever. At least on a random tab. Now, after YouTube runs its algorithm and knows what I want to see, it will probably start suggesting me better things, but it really doesn't even do that, because I've long since decided I don't want to see any more of the Fine Brothers Entertainment because I don't want to support them, and that's one of the groups that gets promoted by YouTube quite a bit, and I mark their videos as not interested, but because I used to watch them, they still get suggested over and over again, and there's no block button in YouTube where you can just block a channel completely. You can only mark not interested on specific videos, so you'd have to mark not interested on every single video they ever made, including the new ones. So yeah, I took the YouTube survey. I tried to impress upon them. I really wanted to make a suggestion where they have this Google image detection software now. And they have audio detection software through their Content ID, obviously. It would be really helpful if they want people to be family friendly. If they could have it so that you could opt into having your video scanned if you cuss, because on a rare occasion I may let loose one cuss word. If it scanned it and said, "We think you cussed here, do you want us to put a bleep there?" And then you could say, "Alright, yeah, I'll put a bleep there. That's what I would want." I'd really prefer to bleep myself when I cuss on the rare occasions, but It's just not even an option in YouTube. And furthermore, I'm playing Castlevania Lords of Shadows. There's like 3 scenes in particular where they just decided to put naked breasts in the game, and I then had to go and spend a lot of extra work using their new blurring tool, which was only made available like this year, to go and blur that. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot less work than what it required when The Witcher 3 similarly had some breasts in certain scenes, and I had to do full edits and cuts of the entire scene. Then if I had an intern or something, which I don't, was to go, if I ever did have one, I may have them go back and re-edit and re-release my Witcher 3 series with just the blurring, and it would be a lot better. But YouTube, certainly with their image recognition, could scan videos if you choose them to have them scanned and say, well, we think this might be a boob. Do you want us to blur this out? And then you say, yes, please do. And you don't even have to automate that process, because you could just have it where if somebody flags something as being family unfriendly, there's a boob in it or something, they could say, well, draw exactly on the screen squares as small as possible around the area. And then with a little automated assistance, it makes those squares as small as possible, so it's not blurring the whole thing out. Obviously, if somebody just drew a square all over the screen, it would then probably not be a legitimate claim, unless the entire screen really did need to be censored. And then you wouldn't even need an automated process, because you'd have people complaining, censoring it for you, and then you could get an email and say, somebody thought this was a boob, so they drew a square of it. Do you want to appeal this? And then you say, yes, that's not a boob, that's a nose. And then they say, fine, we'll have somebody actually look at the video and we'll see if it's a nose or a boob, and then we'll decide, without getting into community strikes, without potentially deleting a channel for all of that. That's the suggestion I'd like to make to them, and I'll eventually have to find a way to email them, if I have an email or anything. Anyways, I'm going long here, just talking about my suggestion. But see, if that family-friendly stuff, it's always been a concern. It's more of a concern now, and I certainly want to comply and stay family-friendly, because it will get me more viewers, and it will get me more ad revenue, it seems now. So I want the tools to fix that. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.